thank you all for being here today. I was really worried that things might kind of thin out after the keynote, and I've got a lot of fun stuff to share with you. We're going to talk about getting dynamic with secret management, and I'll get more into what that means because that's kind of a general title here. My name's David Mills, Senior Product Marketing Manager, and I work on all things Vault, which is fun because I get to work with things from Radar over to Vault Secrets and all the new stuff that's going on. So just a quick overview of what we want to cover today. I'm going to talk a little bit about secret risks and costs, so keep that scary Halloween story going that James was talking about just a moment ago. And then I want to talk about the differences between auto-rotated and dynamic secrets, because there seems to be a lot of confusion and even mixing of terminologies when people talk about the different kinds of secrets. And the reason for that is I then want to get into what use cases are really best suited for those two different types of secrets. And with that, we're going to get into how HashiCorp products, mainly Vault, help with that, get some demos of the latest features, and then next steps. So one of my main goals for this session is that you all have something that's actionable that you can take away with you to start attacking some of those static secrets and working with those legacy applications where you want them to be more secure and avoid breaches. Sound good? All right, good. So secret risks and costs. So secrets are hard, secrets are risky, secrets are really expensive, and mostly because it's hard to manage them in a really secure way. When we look at the latest information, I know that James touched on this a little bit if you were in the previous session, but the Verizon data breach investigation report that comes out every year has more bad news for us this year, or scary news as the case may be. The average cost of a breach so far in 2024 was $4.88 million. So a stray secret and then a bad actor, and then you're in it up to $4.88 million, which is not good. The problem with this is, and if you look at the statistics here, there's been a big increase naturally, but there's almost 70% of those breaches involve the human element, so there's always a bad actor, somebody that's looking for those secrets that are not secure. And then almost 80% of web application breaches consisted of stolen credentials. So it's the perfect formula for a Halloween nightmare, and so you're in it for a breach. The other part of this is the cost just to try and manage those secrets. And so the reason that secrets don't get managed well, don't get rotated, don't get changed often is because it's hard to do it. So doing things the manual way can be, it can take up to days or even a week to get secrets updated because you've got your ticketing workflow. You have to involve somebody who's going to change that once it gets updated. Then you need to test it before you actually make the secret go live and use it for whatever application you're going to use it. These are some data points, and it's a really simple equation here, but they came from customers. So based on the fact they were trying to update their secrets once a month in one of their environments, and just taking a sample size of 500 secrets, and the average hourly rate of the person to manage those secrets, we end up with almost $500,000 a year to manage those secrets, 500 secrets. And most organizations have thousands of secrets, tens of thousands of secrets, hundreds of thousands of secrets. So you can do the math, and that gets really scary too, because that's expensive, and then just doing it through a manual process is really prohibitive, and so that's why in a lot of cases, people just don't do that. So here is our, I call it the inverted pyramid, AKA funnel, that you're all familiar with now and been looking at. But yeah, the unmanaged secrets, there's still too many of them out there. A majority of organizations still have a lot of static secrets that they're using, and those are not secure. If we go bottom to top and we start going down, if you can take those static secrets and at least put them in a secure central location where you have least privilege access, things are a little better. But if they're long-lived, somebody's still going to access a secret and put it in an unsecure location. It's just going to happen, statistically speaking. So really, what you're left with is having auto-rotated secrets or dynamic secrets, and that's what I want to drill down into a little bit, and that is obviously a much more secure way of doing things. So auto-rotated and dynamic secrets are really just different strategies for achieving the same goal. So the goal is to reduce the lifetime of that secret, therefore reduce the exposure of that secret and the chance that somebody's going to grab it and they're going to do something bad with it. These two concepts get confused or conflated a lot of times. So you'll hear people talk about dynamic auto-rotated secrets. I've read it on numerous occasions and going, well, what does that mean? Is it dynamic? Is it rotated? What happened to it? Did it get generated just in time and then disappear? So we want to talk about this a little bit and what the difference is between those secrets. And then learning the difference between those helps us identify what the best use cases are for that. So let's talk about auto-rotated secrets first. Auto-rotated secrets make static secrets secure. And typically the way this happens is only the secret is changed, so whatever the username is, the identifier, that remains consistent. These secrets also tend to be shared among app instances. So you have a version of a secret and it's the current version, and you have certain applications that are going to access it over time. And so one of the challenges there is if that secret goes down or becomes unavailable, then you've got multiple instances of an application that can't access that secret. You also have, in some cases, the ability to have more than one version of that secret live, which helps out and helps with that coverage. If you have applications that are restarting or for some reason the first version goes down, you've got another version. So that's actually better. And then you're basically just scheduling them to rotate at a certain time and making sure that those line up with, it might be requirements that you have for rotation schedules. So that's rotating secrets. When we look at dynamic secrets on the other hand have a very short time to live. So if you think about rotation schedules and when secrets get rotated, you're talking in maybe a week, maybe 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And with dynamic secrets, they tend to be really short-lived. So we're talking an hour, or we might be talking 30 minutes. And really, they are all about managing intentions. So you have an application that needs to access a database momentarily, or you might have a batch job. And so therefore, you just need the secret that gets generated just in time. The access happens, and then as soon as the access is no longer needed, then that secret goes away once the time to live causes it to be revoked or expired. The other thing is, dynamic secrets are unique, each one of them. So they each have a unique ID, and they are used by an instance of an application. So you don't have this concept like you do with rotating static secrets where they can be shared among application instances. So even more secure. When I think about dynamic secrets, I think about if you're in the audience on Oprah, it'd be like, you get a secret, and you get a secret, and you get a secret, and you get a secret. And I guess that analogy only works if there's like somebody handcrafting unique secrets for each person, but still that's what I think about. And so that's really the way it works. So there's a lot of good things about dynamic secrets. The thing is, they're not always going to work well for certain applications and in certain situations. So let's talk about the use cases a little bit. So for auto-rotating secrets, you really want to look at more static workloads. Workloads where you might have like a main platform service and there's lots of access going on with that service. It could be a static web server. And so if you had frequent restarts with it, that's not going to work well for auto-rotate. So frequent restarts are just not ideal for workloads where you want to use that kind of secret. Like I said, it could be a long-lived workload wanting to access a database, not kind of a just-in-time situation. And they're also good for compliance, meeting compliance requirements. So I think about like something like PCI DSS, where you need like a 90-day rotation, I think is what's required for compliance with that. Or something like SOC, where you need to be compliant. It's really easy to set up those auto-rotating secrets, and that tends to work well. Now, if we're talking about dynamic secrets, those are really well suited for time-bound workloads. So we think about batch jobs and CI/CD executions. It's perfect for that because the secret, it just gets generated right when it's needed, and then it's revoked when it's no longer needed. And so it's also useful in environments where you might have stringent security requirements. So accessing cloud environments where you need that to be time-bound. there's a distinct beginning and end to that, or distributed systems, or microservices, because you have microservices that can be spinning up and spinning down, and they need to grab secrets, and then they need to go away. But they're very transient. So now that we've talked a little bit about what are auto-rotating secrets, dynamic secrets, and kind of what the use cases are that they're well suited for, I want to talk a little bit about how HashiCorp products help you enable that. And I think, like we've heard already today since the keynote, we're trying to make doing things the secure way the easy way. And so this is the way. This is where the Mandalorian and Star Wars stuff comes to mind. I don't know if we have any Star Wars or Mandalorian fans out there, but yeah, okay, great. So when I say this is the way, what do you say? This is the way. So say we all. All right, okay, there's a second part to that. Anyway, the old answer and call. But anyway, making things the easy way, the secure way, is the way that we solve the problem with static credentials and start reducing these breaches, because that's why they're happening to begin with, because it's just too hard. So first, let's talk about the self-managed version of Vault. Many of you are probably already familiar with these vaults. Vault Dedicated, that is actually cloud managed. And the way that we handle secrets there and enable rotating secrets and dynamic secrets is through secrets engines. So secrets engines are plugins, and Vault provides secrets engines for cloud service providers, for databases, for LDAP, PKI certificates, an excellent way to automate the lifecycle management of PKI certificates, and then also other sources. And there's some examples here where you see we've got the key value secrets engine, and that helps you manage static secrets and keep them secure. Database secrets engines can rotate secrets, and then the cloud service provider secrets engines, you can enable dynamic secrets using those secrets engines. The key here is that the configuration, the policy, all of that stuff gets configured within a secrets engine. And if you understand that, that's great. And you're using self-managed Vault and you do this yourself, that works really well. But for a lot of folks, we are trying to make this more accessible. So if you're not a Vault expert, if you're not going to manage it yourself and work with that model, there's a new architectural model for secrets in Vault Secrets. And that is through integrations. And so integrations are where you create the configurations, where you're actually providing the authentication, the credentials for access, and you're creating the policies and setting up the automation. So they're a first-class concept, basically, and this allows you to have fewer reusable or root credentials. And there's a simplified management as well, because once you create these integrations within an application, you can actually use them across applications. So you can reuse your rotating secrets integrations across the applications within that project. And so they're actually existing at the project level. The same with the integration with that third-party provider. So that's actually reusable within your project. So it's a little bit different than the model that we have with secrets engines. And we're trying to just make it more accessible. The other thing is that, for instance, if you're setting up dynamic secrets under this model, there's no automation for you to configure. There's no automation to configure with rotating secrets either. That's just something that happens when you set it up and you set that integration. And I'll show you in the demos what that looks like. So with dynamic integrations, this is just basically to show you where Vault sits and talk about Consul and boundary that also enable you to have these more dynamic and more secure connections that you can use within the security lifecycle management products. So let's look at some of the new features here. And the first one we want to talk about is auto rotation and sync. So auto rotation and sync is an integration that you set up. And this flow is just basically to kind of walk through how this happens and how you use it. So at the project level, you create an application. The application is where you create and you manage your secrets. So in this case, for this application, we're also setting up a trust relationship between Vault secrets and AWS. And so you set up that secure trust to start working with secrets in AWS. And then when you created that application, this is where you create that rotating secret integration. And you configure all the properties it needs to have, like what's the rotation schedule for it, and then also the roles that it assumes to be able to access and do things with AWS when you're rotating your secrets. You also have the ability to keep 2 active versions of the secret. Like we were talking about earlier, that helps you have better uptime and better coverage when you have new applications that are starting up. They get the benefit of that full rotation lifecycle when they have a later or a more recent version to grab of that secret. You also have the ability, in case of emergencies, to click a button and rotate on demand. So if you think about all the secrets you have, and if you have the ability to simply rotate that secret with the click of a button, that's pretty powerful and makes things extremely secure to be able to do it that way. And there's also integration with the HCP CLI, with Terraform, and then also Vault Secrets Operator. So you can use this type of secret via those integrations as well. I'm also going to point out that, and I think James mentioned this a little bit earlier, you can also automatically sync these secrets that you're auto-rotating by using the secret sync integration. And in this case, I just have it configured to sync with GitHub Actions. So that will happen as soon as you rotate that secret as well. So here I'm going to just jump right in on a demo. And what I've got is I have a Go application that I've created. And this application is going to go and grab the access key and secret key that it needs to access my bucket. I have my S3 bucket set up. And then I also have a file within that bucket. So if we go into the Amazon console, I've got an HTML. It's sitting in my DAMLs bucket. And then I'm just going to run into Vault Secrets. And I have some apps here already, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new app because this is a developer-like workflow and makes it easy to use for them. I'm going to call it Rotating App. And then from the drop-down, I just select which type of secret I want to create. And I'm going to create auto-rotating. I select AWS. If this was already created, I just grab it and use it, but I'll walk you through how to set it up. I'm going to use it OIDC. I'm going to use OIDC for Workload Identity Federation. Give it a name. And then we're going to populate the audience or the client ID using that identity provider to access AWS. And then I've got my integration role that has certain permissions to do certain things and access things in AWS. And after that, all I need to do is set up my secret, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to leave the rotation frequency at 30 days. There's 2 active versions by default. And then I'm going to use the name of the user that has the access keys that we want to use for that secret. And there you have it. We have a rotating secret. If I click in there, you can see I have one version that I've created. You have some data associated with it. And when I refresh back in my Amazon console, I can see that access key show up. It hasn't been used yet, but it's created. This is the HTML that's in my S3 bucket. There's nothing going on yet. So what I need to do is I need to run that Go application. And once I've done that, it's grabbing the credentials from the rotating secret. And if I refresh my HTML, there it is. It's David Rotate Bucket. And so it's actually found that file. So if I go back in, I'm going to now do an on-demand rotation. And I just put in the name of the rotating secret to make that happen. And then when I click in, I can see I've got 2 active versions of that secret now. So let's go back and refresh this web page from my application. Still up and running. It's still using version 1. So now let's test out version 2 by going to my command line, and I'm going to restart that Go application. Once I've done that, I'm going to jump out, go back and refresh. Still up and running. It's now used version 2 of that secret. So let's jump over into the AWS console. And I'm going to refresh things over here. And now we can see our 2 versions of that secret, and both have been accessed. So kind of a quick demonstration of how this works, how easy it is to actually just configure and set up a rotating secret and then start using it with Vault Secrets. All right, so let's talk about dynamic secrets now. So you're probably getting a strong sense of deja vu, and that's kind of the point, is we want to make things very consistent no matter what type of secret you're creating in Vault Secrets. The flow is the same. We're doing things at a project level. We have our trust relationship that we've set up between AWS and Vault Secrets, and then we create a dynamic secret after we've created the app to put that in there. So once we create the secret, it has policies assigned. The policy in this case would be a time to live, and then it's going to access an S3 bucket. We're currently supporting AWS and GCP for dynamic secrets, and then also HVS-backed dynamic credentials with Terraform that we're going to look at in a minute here. So let's just jump right in with the demonstration of dynamic secrets. Same thing. Once again, strong sense of deja vu. So we're going in, we're creating an application, and I really wasn't trying to bore you, I'm just trying to make a point here, but maybe it's painful. And give my dynamic secret a name, and then from the drop-down menu, guess what? Now I'm going to grab dynamic secrets. Select that provider. Now, here's something to point out. I could have just reused the provider that I already created for rotating secrets, but I'm just going to kind of walk this again. You can use static keys, and sometimes if somebody doesn't have OIDC set up, they might want to use those static keys to try things quickly, but using workload identity federation is much more secure, so we're doing it that way. And same thing, setting up the audience, and then the role that's associated with that dynamic secret with the permissions that will be applied every time you generate a dynamic secret using this integration. And I'll set that role. And then I'm going to leave the TTL where it is and create the dynamic secret. And we've done it. So that was really quick and easy. You don't have to learn some new kind of configuration workflow. It's the same, and it's easy to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and click and generate new credentials. And then once I do that, I'm going to go to my command line, and I'm going to try to list my S3 buckets on AWS. And guess what's going to happen? Nothing, because I don't have permission to do that yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste the dynamic credentials and export them, and I'm going to run that command again. And there it is, DAMIL's bucket. So really simple demonstration, but kind of proves the point of how powerful this is and quick and easy it is to get up and running. So let's look quickly at Terraform and how we can use HVS-backed dynamic secrets there. Same thing, we're setting up that OIDC trust relationship, then temporary credentials can be used to configure and for Terraform to grab dynamic secrets from Vault Secrets. There's no static credentials required, and you also have granular scoping based on the Terraform run attributes. So we'll go ahead and kick off this demo. So if I'm a developer and I'm using Terraform, I really would rather use dynamic secrets to be secure. I've already configured a dynamic secret in Vault Secrets that I'm going to use. And then back here in my workspace, I've included variables that help me use those secrets. So the first one is saying, hey, we're going to be authenticating with the HCP provider, and then actually dynamically generating HCP API keys using that identity provider. And then I want to call out that I'm going to use HVS-backed dynamic credentials specifically for AWS. And then last but not least, I've got the name of my application and then the name of the dynamic secret that I wanted to use that I've already created over in HVS. So I've got a website here with my application, and these are basically the key ID and the last time of update with my old static credentials. And we want to go ahead and kick off a run here in Terraform so it can grab those new dynamic credentials, and then we'll see the HTML update. So I've got my plan running here and my resources, and I'm going to go ahead and commit and apply. And once I've done that, I'm going to jump back over to Vault Secrets, and I'm going to refresh. There's no active credentials. Now there's 2 active credentials. Note also that there's an activity log that is being captured here that can be used later. I'm going to go ahead and refresh, and then I see that things have updated with my new credentials. So with the audit log that gets generated in Vault Secrets, that can also be used with something like CloudWatch for monitoring and then for analysis later on. Great. So you can see that was really quick and easy to do too. There's no more static keys that are included in your workspace there. It's just variables that are secure and tell it to go grab the secrets. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this session, I want everybody to have something actionable that they can take away from this and go back and start cutting into those static secrets and getting rid of them in any way that you can. The best place to start, and this could be a session in and of itself talking about app refactoring or updating legacy applications to make them more secure. But these are some high-level steps that you can take and things you can start looking at to start getting more dynamic with your secrets management. In terms of applications and how they're configured, look at things like where does it run? What's the programming language? What is the framework that you're using? Those are all key to figuring out where to use them. And we start thinking about what use cases are best suited for auto-rotating and dynamic secrets in addition to this. Look at your secret inventory. Where do you have all the static secrets that you want to get rid of or that have been causing problems? And then think about the fact the runtime determines the method you want to use. So these are 4 ways that you can get started depending on what version of Vault you're using or you want to use. You can do things natively in Kubernetes using the Vault Secrets operator, and you can use Vault Secrets if you want to try that out in terms of using auto-rotating and dynamic secrets. Use the Vault agent if you're using self-managed Vault or Vault dedicated. That Vault agent acts as the client that authenticates with Vault. It handles the automation. It does everything so you're not having to look at refactoring your application. And it's also a good way to handle legacy applications if you want to update them and have them use more secure secrets. With HCP Vault Secrets, I would say talk to your platform teams and look at your CI/CD workflows, because that would be a good candidate for using dynamic secrets and using HCP Vault Secrets and getting started there. And then for complete integration, if you're looking at self-managed Vault or Vault dedicated, you could look at the SDK for the secrets engines, because you can actually configure in there the restart logic and other things that help you deal with maybe an older application that needs to grab secrets from Vault. I know that was really quick, but hopefully there's something in there for you to be able to take away and use. So in terms of follow-ups, I would say, see where you can investigate and start updating some of your applications to use more secure secrets. And then there's some QR codes here for follow-up that are really helpful, I think. The App Refactor blog, it's a 5-steps blog, and it's all about refactoring applications or picking applications that you can start modernizing with more dynamic secrets and using them with Vault. And it's written by 2 of our developer advocates, came out recently. There's the Vault documentation, which of course has all the latest from the latest features and capabilities. And then also the security lifecycle management page that has a lot of information on the SLM products and how you can use them. So with that, I just want to say thank you for coming to this session and listening to me talk about getting dynamic with secrets. And I hope you got something useful out of it, and enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you.